When you're working on a website project, having a few pieces of documentation up front to help you plan the process and also get approval from your client can be really helpful and can save a lot of time and make sure that our communication is really clear. So the type of document we're looking at right here is called a sitemap. And a sitemap basically plans the navigation of a website. So what we are looking for right now, or looking at right now rather, is the sitemap for an initial portfolio website. You can see here that we have a key or a legend that lets us know what each thing means. And we also have some specific constructs within this diagram that help us to navigate it. So what we're seeing here are a bunch of rectangles that have different icons or symbols on them. And we're also seeing some labels on those that let us know what the page name or what the page focus is going to be. And then over here, you notice we have some other of these rectangles. So we should assume every time we see a rectangle, that means a page. You notice we have some others here, but that they're a different color and that they're connected with a different kind of line. The line is thinner, and in some cases it is also a different color. So what does all of this mean? We need to be able to interpret it in order to create a website. Now you notice this page at the top has an icon of a house on it, which means home. Whenever you see that, that usually just means that this is the home page. So this is the first page that you should see. Without an icon or without any kind of graphic to show us what the content is, we would refer to the title, and we can see that the title is About Me. So this page should have content about the person whose portfolio website this is. And we also notice that this page is this teal color, which means an internal link. Internal means that it's part of the website. It's part of the website that we're making. So this is an important distinction. You notice we have these gray pages that are called external links. External links mean that they are not part of our website, but that we're going to be linking to them from our website. And so that's really important to note, especially when you're working with a client, because it lets them know which pages you plan to build and which pages already exist. Now, I realize that that might seem like something that they would know automatically, but that's not always the case. And so it's always best to diagram it out, because a sitemap is generally drawn as part of your contract. Usually when you are planning a website for a client, you work on a sitemap, you get their approval, and that's what you base your pricing on. And that's what you base your turnaround time on. That and some other things. Obviously, you would need a little bit more. But a sitemap would be one document that would be included in your contract for making this website. And so you'd want to make sure that it was correct and that it communicated really clearly what you intended to build so that they understood what they were paying for. So in this case, what we're seeing is that we have 5 internal pages. So we're going to build 5 different pages here. And one of them is actually kind of off on its own, which is a little bit strange, right? But we'll talk about that in just a minute. And we can see that these 5 pages, actually we have 6 internal pages, excuse me. Now we can see that these 5 pages that are clustered here together are connected by this really thick channel, or what we would call a trunk of, that's been labeled as primary navigation. And we notice that they're connected with a thick black line. And that lets us know that this is going to be the primary pages of the website. So when you get to this website and you see the main navigation bar, these are the pages that should be represented there, that we should be able to get to. And it is really important to draw them using this trunk, because this trunk shows that they're all connected to one another. If you had each one of these connections stemming off of the home page separately, that would communicate something different. That would communicate that you had to return to the home page to get to any of the other pages. But by using this channel that connects all of them, that lets you know that you can get to any of these pages from any of the other pages. And that's really important distinction to make. Now you can see as well, just in case that wasn't clear in our key, we've also got a notation that a thick black line means primary navigation. So that means these should all be in the top navigation bar. And now that's different from an internal link, right? So what we're seeing here are the teal pages are the pages that we're going to build. They're all part of our website. But this one, the style guide, is not going to be part of the main navigation. So a teal page does not mean main navigation. It just means pages on the site, which are referred to as internal pages or internal links. Now, we also have these gray colored pages, and they represent what are external links. So those are links off of the website, or links that are going to be presented from a different website, but we'll be able to get to them from our website. Those pages include a sitemap, which is what we're looking at. And we notice this sitemap is actually created on an application called Gliffy. And Gliffy's logo is this page with an arrow coming off of it. And you can see that that's represented right here. So what that communicates is that we're going to be linking to a page on Gliffy, hosted on Gliffy, that contains a sitemap. Additionally, we're going to link to another page on Gliffy, we can tell from the logo here, and that it's going to lead to or describe a mobile wireframe, and one more that describes a desktop wireframe. Now, our last two gray pages are evidently not on Gliffy, right? Because we're not using that logo. And if we were going to have these on Gliffy, then it would make sense to continue so that this was really clear. But we're using a different icon here. And this one means code. So this icon is leading to an external page with a CSS validator and an HTML validator. So since you're just getting started with this, you've probably not used these before, but these are free services online that will check your code for errors. And we're going to put links on our portfolio site to these just to make it easier for us to check our code for errors as we're in the process of making the site. You can see that these are all connected with a thin gray line and that they are labeled as secondary navigation. And we can see here that the thin gray line also means secondary navigation in this case. So this one is not correct, right? This one actually needs to be fixed because it's that teal blue color and that doesn't match with everything that we were doing. So I'm going to fix that right now to a thin gray line. And that's because the teal color means internal link, but the thin gray line just means secondary navigation. So this has more to do with where on the page these links will be presented than whether these links are actually part of our website or part of someone else's. So it's really important that you make these communicate clearly and simply. You notice this is not a complicated sitemap. The sitemap is actually pretty simple, and it doesn't need to be complicated. It needs to read really clearly, even if we're not present to explain it. But we also should explain it to our client, obviously, so that we can get their buy-in and so that they agree that this is what we will build and this is what we will charge for, and then we can base our timeline on how long it's going to take for us to build this. So keep in mind, a sitemap usually wouldn't change. If a sitemap changes after the client has hired you, then that usually would be a reason to have a new contract and a reason for a new price and a new timeline. So we want to make sure that our sitemap is correct before we move forward and make sure that our client understands it fully. So make sure that you're clear on those things. The other thing I want you to make sure you're clear on is the difference between an internal link and an external link, and how that is also different from primary navigation and secondary navigation, but how they might actually be somewhat related to one another as well. So we'll talk about that a little bit further once we start building out our template for this site. But for now, those are the most important things about a sitemap. You just want to make sure that you're clear on all of the particulars of it and understand how you can make this notation in a way that reads cleanly and clearly.